England's women beat New Zealand by 8 wickets in Christchurch, easily chasing down their target of 179 within 34 overs. And Tammy Beaumont top scored with 72.
It's certainly nice to get back out in, the pale blue kit and back to being able to bat long and, enjoy a win like that.
And this is a New Zealand side that, they've played ODI cricket more recently than you have, and in their home conditions will have expected to perform better than they have done. Is it a real statement from England at the start of the series to get this win?
Yeah, I think so. I think, we got a bit of a wake-up call last week against the New Zealand 11. The players that have played in that, obviously, quite a number are playing in this squad as well. And, yeah, that defeat kind of gave us a little bit of motivation to really hone in on our skills in training the last few days and really up our kind of consistency, both with bat and ball, and remember how to kind of bowl long spells and make long innings. So it's great that we kind of, pulled it off today.
And we were expecting at this point to be seeing a World Cup in New Zealand. That has now been delayed a year. And because of the lack of cricket and relative lack of cricket, every game that you're playing in 50-over matches has that extra importance just because you know that the build-up starts now.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, Lisa Cutley reminded us of that this morning. It's almost a bonus year to make sure you're really kind of raring to go. And we've got a lot of cricket coming up, hopefully with a couple of series in the summer. So, it's a really good chance to start making sure we're playing the style of cricket we want to play and really making a really good challenge to keep our trophy next year.
How pleasing is it for you personally to have got the runs that you have in this first game?
Yeah, I think so. I think I spoke the other day about how my dad always asked me, are you in form? And in the nets, I often feel quite good sort of technically, but for me, form is all about that kind of mental resilience and, the mental toughness to make sure you bat a long innings. And I hadn't done that in the warm-up games. I was a little bit annoyed at myself. So, yeah, for me, it's really good to kind of remember how to bat a little bit longer and be a little bit more ruthless in that approach. But I'm actually kicking myself at how I got out. I wanted to be not out at the end, but that's just me, perfectionist tendencies.
And it's been a long build up to this first game. You've been in New Zealand for quite a long time. How's it been? And the challenges of quarantine and one thing and another.
Yeah, it has been challenging, but I think at the same time we need to kind of be grateful that we're here, and I think that's added kind of a nice dimension to it that actually in terms of how tours go, I think all of us have really embraced it and just absolutely loved being kind of allowed out in New Zealand. Kind of after we got through that 2-week quarantine, I think we've all really enjoyed ourselves, just making sure that we're very grateful that we're here to play cricket, but also kind of can go out to the restaurants and cafes and things and just really embrace the kind of touring lifestyle, which has been really good, because I think we play better when we're more relaxed and getting on well and spending a lot of time together. So, yeah, I think it's actually been a little benefit for us.
What sort of a statement would it be to win the series at the earliest opportunity in the next game?
I think it certainly would. I think, we've probably got a history of actually not starting that well or kind of easing into a series. So actually to get a win like that today and then, get to go 2-0 up would be really important. And then the next challenge would be you don't want to look ahead too soon, but, really kind of taking the performance we've had today through the whole series.
And just finally, announcement today that the first 100 fixture will be a women's fixture. That's a serious statement from the ECB.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, obviously last summer we were told that we were being treated equally in terms of trying to get fixtures on within COVID bubbles and everything like that. And we certainly felt that the ECB did treat us that way and really communicated well with us as to what every decision was. And looking forward, they're really showing that with this 100 fixture coming out first. And yeah, it's just great for the competition to be shown, it's not just about the men's game. The women are here too, and it's very equal in terms of how it's portrayed in the media and the scheduling and everything like that. And yeah, it's just great for the game.
Well, that was Tammy Beaumont with Henry Moran, who joins me now, and that's a good win for England. Henry?
It is, Aggers, yeah, and probably a degree of relief as well, because they were beaten quite badly by a New Zealand development side in one of the warm-up matches last week. So there would have been a degree of trepidation going into this match. And you've got to remember the context in which this game's being played, and that is that there has been a huge gap for England's women's players in playing one-day international cricket. They've gone 14 months without donning the blue jerseys of the ODI side. So it's been a long wait for them. And to get out there, to get playing and to win so convincingly will be a real relief. The question now is whether they can go on and win the series at the earliest opportunity.
Yeah. Well, Tammy Beaumont hasn't missed the time off by the looks of it.
No question. 72 for her at a decent rate. Watching in the early hours this morning, as I was, I think what stood out was actually the patience at the start of the innings, because chasing that low total, England knew that they could knock it off in double quick time. But actually, they started quite slowly. They had to be patient, just see off the new ball, and she was quite happy to do that. And England didn't score their first boundary for the first sort of 5 or 6 overs. So it was quite an impressive indication, perhaps, of the maturity of Tammy Beaumont. She turns 30 next week, appears to be getting more comfortable as an international opener, and continues this good run of form that we've seen in the last few years. Also, an unbeaten 67 for the captain, Heather Knight. She played well, had a good winter, winning the Women's Big Bash League, and continues to looks like one of the world's best.
Yeah, and she was busy captaincy-wise too, because it's not often that 7 bowlers are used in an innings of a one-day international, and they all actually take a wicket as well. That's very rare.
Yeah, it's an unusual one, but it's a significant a day for England and their bowling attack, particularly because they don't have Anya Shrubsole as part of the tour, and we know what she's done over the last decade or so. She's led that attack alongside Catherine Brunt, and she misses the tour through injury. And possibly one criticism for the side in recent years is that reliance on the opening partnership of Shrubsole and Brunt. So others stepping up is encouraging. I will just mention Tash Farrant, who took a couple of wickets playing in her first international since 2018. It's significant, this, because she was released from her England contract a year after that last appearance. And in the past, that would normally have signalled the end of the hopes of an international career, just because of the opportunities to train, to stay fit, to make cricket a viable career option. But because of the professional contracts that came into place last year, 41 of them for domestic players, she was able to keep training. She's forced her way back into the international side. She took a little bit of time away from the game, some teaching, some coaching. Says she's got unfinished business in an England shirt, and left arm moves the ball, still only 24. Some real hope that she could yet have a really good international career, and it's a really good indication of the funding that's come in from the ECB, and giving players that perhaps just fall away the chance to get back in, and thus grow that pool of players that can have an international career.
Yeah, and you mentioned, things are on hold a bit, aren't they, with the women? At least they are playing, but it should have been the World Cup over there at the moment. That's being rescheduled, so they will try and get whatever cricket they can get in, I guess, until they finally get this World Cup played.
Yeah, and that's been the challenge in the women's game, is getting the fixtures in, because we saw last summer that the ECB did everything they could, and behind the scenes we heard all these stories of the efforts that were going in to try and fulfil the fixtures that were planned. India, South Africa, 2 tours that were eventually called off, and in the end, all they got was the 5 T20s against West Indies in Derby in late September, and a West Indies side who aren't particularly good, who struggled in that series. And that was the only cricket that England have had between the end of the T20 World Cup last March and up to now, which is a huge gap for a side that are trying to prepare to defend the 50-over World Cup title. And with other countries struggling to fulfil fixtures, and the financial difficulties that we've seen all sorts of boards having in the men's game and the women's game to get fixtures on, the story all over has been when and if sides are going to get the chance to play again. So to have not played for as long as they have, for England 14 months, that's a real challenge. So these matches, in the conditions that they're going to face 12 months from now for the World Cup, is absolutely priceless, and the more they can get from these games, the better set they'll be for what's to come in a year's time.